Gridmaster is the first experimental community event being added into Oldschool Runescape. It is heavily inspired by Clan Bingo, and of course the seasonal event of Leagues. I want to break down exactly what Gridmaster is and what we can expect from it, but ultimately I want to talk about why we're getting Gridmaster and if it can be a success for Oldschool Runescape. Most of you likely know what Gridmaster is, but what is Gridmaster? Hey, it's a grid. We gotta master that. See this grid here? You master it. I'm your master. Grid, master. You got a grid? You gotta master it. Complete a tile, get a reward. Complete a tile, get a reward. Tile, reward. Tile, reward. Oh wow, you did a line. That's an even bigger reward. Oh, look at this tile in the middle. That looks easy. It's a free relic. The ultimate goal, complete the entire grid, or in other words, become a grid master. When I heard there wasn't going to be a Leagues this year, I was definitely a little bit shocked given the success of previous Leagues, but it's understandable why we're seeing this happen. There have been some massive updates happening this year for Oldschool RuneScape, and the ones that were in the second half of the year that have taken up a lot of resources include Varlamore Part 3, which is massive in scope, and of course, Sailing, the first new skill coming to Oldschool RuneScape, has taken up a lot of resources. But it's clear the team didn't want to go 2 full years without a PVM temporary game mode, and that's why we have Gridmaster. The single biggest difference between Gridmaster and Leagues has to be the development time required. For Leagues, there is a lot more resources put into it because we're getting new mechanics, new relics, etc. For Gridmaster, a lot of what we're going to be interacting with has been used in previous Leagues, so we're going to have relics from previous Leagues or weapons from previous Leagues, etc. Really, other than the grid itself, they're not putting a ton of development time into this mode. It's supposed to be this low-lift, fun event. For new players out there, if you haven't done a league before, you don't have to worry about this being recycled or feeling like previous leagues. This is going to be totally fresh for you, and you're going to experience power spikes and fun that you have not experienced in the main game before. So if you're a newer player, definitely you should dive into Gridmaster. For experienced players, you might see this and maybe you've done leagues in the past and you're thinking that this is going to be a little too familiar. When I first was reading about Gridmaster, I had that feeling a little bit. Why would I engage too much time in this temporary game mode, knowing that a lot of what I'm experiencing, the relics and the weapons, are things I've already experimented with in previous leagues. But thinking about it a little bit further, in previous leagues we tend to be area locked. We're not going to be area locked at all for this league, which means that even though I'm using some weapons and relics and rewards that I've done in previous leagues, I could be doing completely different content, which is very, very exciting, and I can play with anybody at any time. I don't have to worry about what area I'm picking. I love area restricted leagues, do not get me wrong, but given that this is a quick recycled 4-week event, I think it makes sense to have the area opened up like this. The other thing that makes me excited, which is very similar to the fact that we don't have to make a choice for areas, it feels like in a lot of cases we're not making choices for our rewards. If you complete the tile, you're gonna get a reward. There are some tiles that you're completing which you do have to pick and make choices, definitely, but I think generally speaking, you're gonna have access to probably more relics and rewards than you would have in previous leagues. When you combine the fact that you're not having to pick an area, and you're also not having to choose between relics, at least in some cases, I think this is going to lead to it feeling pretty fresh overall because you're going to be experimenting with things and trying things that you haven't done in previous leagues. I think one area where this is really going to come through is going to be in some of the gear and weapon rewards. In the Echo League, there were incredible gear and weapon rewards that you can get from the Echo bosses, but you can only pick 3 areas. So you were only maybe using 3 or 4 pieces of gear and weapons. With the Echo League, who knows? They might give us access to pretty much all those within the grid, and that's going to be super fun, and you can bring it to all types of content. Let's just take a look at this grid one more time. We've got 49 tiles here. So we have 49 tasks, okay? That means that we get 49 different rewards from completing those tasks. That's a lot of rewards. On top of that, by completing lines, we get another 14 rewards. So that's 63 total rewards we can get through Gridmaster. And I can't help but think when you have 63 relics and weapons and etc., that we are going to be extremely powerful in Gridmaster, way more powerful than we would be in any league, and we're not area restricted, so we can take that power to any content we desire. Hopefully all of this is illustrating to you that despite a lot of this being recycled content, it's still going to be very fun, very fresh, and a unique experience. And recycled content aside, just looking at some of the teasers we've seen so far, not everything is recycled. It looks like there are going to be some rewards that will be completely new, which I'm very, very excited to see. Some as simple as having a shark that never gets consumed or never hitting below a minimum hit of 5. A league seasonal game mode typically lasts 8 weeks long, but Gridmaster is only going to be here for 4 weeks. Of course, leagues are much bigger in scope, more marketing behind them, makes sense why they're in the game for longer, but they're also more time consuming, right? To go for something like a dragon rank takes a lot longer than I suspect completing this grid of 49 tasks would take. For players that are actively doing Gridmaster, I suspect it's only going to take them about a week to complete the board, maybe even less than that. So it makes sense that it's only 4 weeks long, and it's ultimately not a competitive game mode. It is a community event. And you might be wondering why the length even matters. Well, back in Leagues 1, we were told that while the league is out, that the team wasn't going to be releasing main game updates for the integrity of leagues. And this has seemed to stick through all the leagues. This means that we have 8 weeks where we get no updates. And that, to me, is a little bit disheartening as somebody who does leagues for about a week and a half, and then goes back to the main game. And if you look at the player counts, typically most players go back to the main game within the first couple of weeks. So sitting around waiting 6 weeks, maybe even more than that if they don't have something queued up for another update in the game, feels bad, but that's a discussion for another video around the seasonal game modes. Speaking of updates, another reason why Gridmaster is only 4 weeks long has to do with what is coming after Gridmaster, and that is going to be the release of Sailing. Yes, Sailing is finally coming, and I suspect it's only going to be like 2 or 3 weeks after Gridmaster has concluded. We don't have a date for it yet, but I want to see how warm I am with the date. I think I'm close. This means that if you are into seasonal game modes and you're looking forward to Sailing, the end of the year is looking incredible for Oldschool Runescape. And I think the Twitch numbers are going to look pretty good, and the streaming numbers and the videos, because, you know, the first couple days of something like Gridmaster and Sailing are going to get a ton of views. Now, if you're not into seasonal game modes and you're not looking forward to Sailing, the end of the year is looking a little bit rough for you, and you likely won't see something you enjoy until February plus. Back to the original question, will Gridmaster be a success for Oldschool Runescape? And ultimately, should you spend your time playing it? Yes, I believe it's going to be a huge success for the game, and you should play it because it's going to be a ton of fun. Firstly, it's coming out at the right time. It is coming out before the release of Sailing, so you're going to be able to spend a lot of time in Gridmaster, have a ton of fun, and then this completely net new skill is going to come out not too long after. So it's a great way to round out the year, as mentioned before. On top of that, it helps to scratch that league itch. The downside of having stuff like Varlamore Part 3 and Sailing is that they definitely take away resources from building out the leagues. That's why we don't have a full leagues this year, but the Oldschool Runescape team found a clever way to give us something that's going to feel more or less very similar. So I'm looking forward to playing it. I'm going to be playing it live on both YouTube and Twitch, so you can subscribe here or follow the Twitch in the description. I'm curious of your thoughts below on any of this, whether you're going to be playing Gridmaster or if you think it's going to be successful or not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.